So this is the video that I promised you a couple of months ago. Today I'm going to be sharing my experience of caring for my mum during her final days at our family home in Edinburgh and being with her when she died. And it's not going to be a morbid video. There are plenty of sweet memories that my brother and mum and I had during those final days. But I wanted to share this with you because my brother and I had no idea what to expect. And I'm hoping that it will give you some insight into that and maybe a little bit of comfort. Maybe you're going through something similar, or maybe this is something that might be relevant for you moving forward. And I'll be talking about the physical changes in mum during those final days, how my brother and I navigated extra nursing staff coming into mum's house, just the practicalities of that, how we made mum's final days a bit more enjoyable. And also they were tough days, how I kept myself going with some self-care, what that looked like. So anyway, if you are ready for today's video, let's dive in. Diane in Denmark here. As I said, it's taken me a wee while to kind of gather my thoughts for this video, but I wanted to share my mum's final days. And when I was with mum in the final days, I kept a little diary and I've made a few notes. And today I thought this was an ideal time because I've had enough kind of time to process things, but still kind of fresh in my mind. So I've made a few notes and we'll just get into it, see where it leads. I hope it's not going to be too rambling. I have no idea how long this video is going to take. As you know from my videos, I've talked a lot about mum, showed a lot about mum. She was a very sprightly lady, full of life, tons of friends, and when even well into her 80s, she was always a kind of beacon of light for me, thinking, wow, she was always out and about and doing things, and big network. She did have some memory issues in her final years, but nothing major health-wise, though a few years back found out she had some kind of heart problems. But all was well and good for mum, and she was doing really well. And then it was just the day after my birthday, at the end of June, mum took a tumble. She was looking after herself at home. My brother in Scotland was looking in on her every day. Things were going fine, but she had taken a tumble, and that was kind of started the beginning of the end for mum. And my brother phoned me, let me know what was going on, and I decided to fly over there. I'm in Copenhagen. And we knew that mum didn't have much time left, but we weren't quite sure what was going on. And mum had decided a few years back, when my dad died, she had the forms, the do not resuscitate, the DNR forms, because she had decided that if things were coming to an end, she was quite happy. She wanted to be at home, being cared for there, and that was her plan. So that was the plan. And it was, of course, upsetting to go over there and see mum, who was now bedridden, but you know, she was still quite chirpy and was kind of in and out of consciousness. The doctor had said to us mum was on end-of-life care now. There was nothing really that could be done for mum, and she was very adamant that she wanted to be at home, which we were happy that we could look after at home. Though there was one thing we should have, the nurses said that they recommended that she should have a hospital bed brought into the house. We should have said that, yes to that immediately, that this is all in hindsight. But anyway, we'll get into the practicalities of things. My brother and I spoke to the doctor. She was fantastic. And she explained that she couldn't tell us how long mum had left, but that if mum, the doctor said if she had gone back to practice and one of the nurses said, oh, our mum had died the next day, she would have thought, oh, that was very fast. But if the nurses came in 2 weeks later and said, oh, mum had died, she would have thought that was part of the process. So we knew it was going to be somewhere within the next couple of weeks. I made some notes every day when I was over with mum. Mainly, it wasn't intended to be a diary as such. It was more so I could tell the nurses who were coming in when mum had eaten, or what she had to eat or drink, or any kind of changes in her. And one of the things that I didn't realise at the time is that mum's appetite had been slowly decreasing. But when you are into your final days, your body shuts down, all the organs begin to shut down, and it's a very natural process that you can actually physically stomach food or even water in the end. And I think many of us have that misconception of trying to get the patient or the loved one, to eat something, drink something. And I think that was one of the biggest surprises for me that I didn't know before this happened with mum. And also, I just want to say I had no idea of what the final days of somebody's life looks like. So any time I had, I was Googling things. I didn't have any personal experience. And I was just kind of fumbling in the dark, trying to do my best for mum. What was happening, what to look for, how to comfort her. So anyway, to start with the kind of eating and drinking, and my brother, he had been looking in on my mum every day before that anyway, but mum couldn't cook for herself in her final years. Also with the memory loss, it was difficult in that way. But she still enjoyed her soup and porridge. Yogurts with fruit, the ones, what they called Muller yogurts, things like that. And I was trying to, just give her something that was kind of nourishing, scrambled eggs and ketchup, she liked that. But she could only manage a spoonful or 2 spoonfuls. And I was spoon feeding mum. And in the beginning that was quite upsetting, because you're thinking, oh, but mum has to eat. But actually, that's just part of the normal process. So I would say, don't be worried if the appetite drops off, or in the end, mum couldn't physically swallow things. That's just part of it. So I would say that in a space of a couple of days, mum went from maybe eating 2 or 3 teaspoonsful of food to no food at all. She did enjoy her cups of tea in the beginning. It was just, we were to give her anything, any kind of liquids that she enjoyed. And if you've followed anything about mum on my videos, if you've seen my videos where I'm visiting her in Edinburgh, you know that mum liked a glass of wine with her lunch. And she loved a gin and tonic. And in those last days, I was thinking, mum was on medication, but and I was messaging with the kids here at home, and I said, I'm going to give Granny a gin and tonic tonight. Not that she could really drink it. But, I made it in her favourite glasses. She's got Edinburgh crystal glasses, and we would always enjoy a gin and tonic together when I visited her. And she had some nice pink gin and the tonic. And I said to the kids, I should probably give her the alcohol-free gin because she's on the pain medication. And my son said, give Granny a nice gin and tonic. So that's what I did, and I was sitting with mum. We're sitting in the bed, and I'm kind of half holding it for her, and she said, that tastes so good. That she really, really loved it because it was nice and cooling and refreshing. So she, of course, she couldn't drink much of it, but she really, really enjoyed that gin and tonic. And then the next day, in the evening, after we'd, we were chatting, and she was drifting off again, I offered her gin and tonic, and she managed like one sip of it. Then I knew we were nearing the end. But I'm so glad that her last proper drink was a pink gin and tonic. Now, maybe your loved one doesn't enjoy pink gin and tonic, but one of the ways, because Mum and then she couldn't drink anything, she couldn't swallow anything, even with her tablets. I had been giving her tablet in a bit of yogurt or in the fruit from the yogurt. That was an easy way to get her for it to be able to swallow it. And that was one of the tricks that the nurses told me. But what you can do if they've got a very dry mouth is to take a little swab of material, dip it in water, and just dampen their lips or inside, on their gums. And the medicine that Mum was on, the district nurses would, come in once a day, and they were, in the beginning they were checking what we'd been able to give to Mum, and then when she wasn't able to swallow any medicine, then they put her on a thing called a syringe driver, where it's a kind of mix of stuff of something to calm Mum, painkillers, and that would kind of work for 24 hours. It slowly went into the system, and then they would come back the next day and change that. And also we got a prescription from the chemist. They had given me some liquid morphine in case anything happened during the night when the nurses weren't there, and then I could phone and they could guide me through things. So there was a lot of different kind of medicine that we had to take care of. And after Mum died, you also have to sign off on the medicine that you're going to take it back to the chemist. And I remember walking along to the chemist, and I had my tote bag was full of medicine. So yeah. And some of the things that I had noted down that I didn't know about of what can happen in the last days and hours is that Mum was doing Cheyne Stokes breathing, which is when it's almost kind of like snoring, very loud breathing, and then the breathing stops, and you think, oh gosh, is this it? And then, it can be like a minute, and then the breathing starts again. And that can be quite upsetting if you don't know what is going on. But it was just part of the natural process in the end. And I would say that Mum stopped eating about 6 days before she died, and stopped drinking anything fluids about 3-4 days before she died. But I was just, even if she couldn't drink anything, I was just putting, some lip pomade on her just to make her feel more comfortable. For the nurses coming into our home, because Mum didn't want to go into hospital, she wanted to be at home, and the nurses had suggested the hospital bed, and we thought, oh, it's going to be a girdle and Mum being in a different bed, but actually we should have said yes to that immediately. And it was a big kind of kerfuffle, because my brother had to lift Mum with the syringe driver, and I've got Mum's head, lift her out into another room. We had to remove Mum's bed. They brought in the hospital bed, but actually once that was in place, it was much easier to care for Mum, provide the nursing care for us, to personal hygiene, to change her, change her clothes, her night clothes, things like that. It was really much easier. So that was one thing with hindsight that we should have done sooner. But the nurses were terrific, and they came in once a day, and we also had some hospice nurses coming in the very final couple of days. Those nurses, the nurses from St Columba's Hospice, they were absolutely fantastic. And I just tried to set it up so that when the nursing staff came in or the hospice staff came in, that they had everything that they needed at hand. There wasn't a lot of bric-a-brac around the place, also to keep it more hygienic. And in Mum's wardrobe, I kind of cleared things out, and she has some drawers in the wardrobe, and I just reorganised things, and I wrote things on a big sheet of paper, stuck it on the front of the drawers, and there was, bed sheets, duvet covers, hand towels, bath towels, underwear, fluffy socks, and then also on Mum's dressing table had put Mum's favourite perfumes, her comb and her brush. Some friends had given little bottles of stuff, and there were little gifts. And when one of the nurses came in, she looked around. This is another funny story. And she said, "Oh, have you worked as a nurse? Because it's so very well set up." And I said, "No, I'm not a nurse, but I'm a routines coach and a YouTuber, and I'm trying to help people to be organised. And I was just trying to make it easier for them to have what they needed." But there was Mum's nighties, and a place for all the medicine that Mum was getting, and a place for the nurses to have this stuff that they used, the gloves and all the paraphernalia. So that's something to think about. Try and keep the area neat and tidy. And the only other things that we had in there was I bought a bunch of flowers for Mum, and neighbours had bought flowers, so we had the flowers so Mum could see that, and I put a photo of Dad beside Mum. And the other thing is I put, Mum loved listening to the radio. We always used to do the pop quiz. Was it on Radio Scotland with Ken Bruce? Anyway, Mum and I always used to do the quiz together. That was something we always did. And Mum loved music, could tell you anything about music. And I've shared before about what the funeral music, the playlist that we had. But I set up, so we had the radio in Mum's room, and we just left that playing the whole time, because it was kind of like chat radio. And I just felt that, when I went to bed at night, that there was a voice there with her. And some of the other ways that we tried to make it Mum's days enjoyable the last few days, obviously the things like the daily self-care, I'd do Mum's hair, face, I did, both of us get those kind of little whiskers, I cut off little whiskers, I painted her nails for her in her favourite colour, we were matching with the nail varnish. And every day I would ask her, "Okay, Mum, which perfume do you want today?" And I would just kind of spray it onto her arms, and then spray a little bit on my fingers and put it through her hair, just so that she was smelling nice. And she couldn't really see much in her final days. But as I said, she liked listening to the radio, and some friends came in and talked to her. That was nice. And also I got my kind of iPad set up, managed to download the BBC iPlayer, and I let her watch some bits of Father Brown, and she was kind of drifting in and out of consciousness, but it was just that kind of familiar things, because one thing that Mum really loved in her final days was watching Christmas movies, this kind of Hallmark Christmas movies. And it wasn't something that she did years ago. This is something that, during the last year. And I think it just gave her that comfort with something familiar, nice stories, nothing gory. But she also enjoyed the cosy crimes that I did, like Father Brown. So we watched a bit of that together. And I'll be making another couple of videos about decluttering Mum's house, the kind of death cleaning. But one of the really sweet things that I found when I was getting Mum's room set up and I was looking for fluffy socks, because as Mum was basically bedridden and lying in bed, she couldn't move. It was really important for her to have fluffy socks on to keep her feet warm, and we were rubbing in a kind of special cream in order to avoid bed sores. But when I was looking for her fluffy socks, do you know what I found in her sock and tight drawer? And it was amazing, because that could have just gone out with Mum's tights and things. I found a love letter from my granddad, not like Mum's dad, to my granny, and it had just been put in there, and this was such a family treasure, and I'll tell you about that another time. But this was when he was stationed in Germany at the end of the war, to my darling on the air mail paper. Fascinating. Anyway, we'll be talking about the decluttering process, and because we were decluttering and asking Mum about things when my brother and I were doing this. Oh, and the other thing that was in Mum's wardrobe in a plastic bag was Mum's wedding album with Mum and Dad. And I don't know how I'd ended up in there, because my brother went through photos with Mum, probably, was it last year? He got Mum to go through a lot of photos, and he wrote on the back, when the photos were taken, because even though Mum had memory issues, her older memory was absolutely fantastic. She could remember the names of hotels that we had stayed at when we were kids, and the year, and my brother had given me a lot of those photos. So anyway, it was kind of funny that the wedding album had ended up in the wardrobe. And there were really a few very special moments, because in the final days, Mum wasn't really aware of what was going on around her, drifting in and out of consciousness. But I would just be doing things around the house, doing loads of washing, decluttering. My brother would come on his breaks at work and take things off to the charity shop or the recycling centre, and then he would come and we'd sit and have a cup of tea and just sit with Mum. But one of Mum's final words, it was really funny, because my dad was an electrician, and my dad, bless him, he kept so many things. He wasn't a hoarder, but that's why, I can't stand having too much stuff around. And my dad had such a huge supply of light bulbs when he died. Like, my brother is still going through the supply of light bulbs. But and the lights in our house, they tend to blow quite a lot in Mum's house. And every time the light bulb blows, we say, "Oh, that's Dad. Dad is here." And in Mum's final days, several of the light bulbs blew. And, I kept on, my brother and I kept on saying to Mum, "Oh, think Dad is around, you've been a good mum, a good granny. We're here with you, you can go to Dad whenever you want." And, there was this light bulb went in Mum's room, and I said to Mum, "Oh, do you think Dad is here?" And Mum, who had been quite kind of, out of it, she suddenly looked up and she had the biggest smile, and then she said, "Hi," and then my dad's name. And I thought, wow, that was the last thing that Mum said that we could interpret. So that was Mum's final word. She said "hi" to my dad. So that was just that was just a fantastic moment. So I was immediately messaging the kids, "Oh, Granny just said hi to Grandad." Hold on, I just need to blow my nose. Oh, right. And then I'll tell you a bit about how I kind of kept going during the days and during the evening, and I'll tell you about the final moments with Mum. But in the beginning, when I went over, you know, and my brother and I were looking after Mum, and because I'd been kind of completely thrown for a loop, I didn't know kind of what was going on, what to expect. I kind of forgot about the self-care thing the first couple of days, and I was kind of constantly kind of hanging over Mum and checking in on her. And then I remembered the talk that I put together for the Get Organised conference this year, which was about using the top of the hour method. Now, if you follow my flylady videos, my time management videos, the top of the hour method is doing something at the top of the hour and then getting back to something else that's going on. And I use this method a lot for working, or for when I am grieving, or when I am getting back into routines after a period of illness, if you are working at home and still need to keep the home running. And I suddenly realised, gosh, this is what I should be using, the top of the hour method, or a variation of it. And I had to make sure that I was getting food for myself. Of course, I was trying to get Mum to eat, making sure she was drinking something, checking when we gave her the medicine or when we freshened her up, things like that, and her checking in on her breathing. But I had to make sure that I actually took the time, just even for 15 minutes, and I would make my lunch. And I sat outside in Edinburgh. The weather's very changeable, but hopefully you'll get 15 minutes where you can sit outside where it's not pouring with rain or gale force winds. Also in the evening, when Mum was asleep, you know, I would have my dinner, and I found Mum's candles and candlesticks, and I set a nice table, cut some flowers from the garden, and sat and had my dinner. And you know, watched some of my favourite TV in the evening. I couldn't really concentrate on reading books, but when I was decluttering, like in Mum's kitchen, I would put on, it was usually like a podcast where somebody else was talking, and that would keep me company. And then, you know, every 15 minutes I would go and check in on Mum, and if she was conscious, I would sit and hold her hand and, you know, just chat to her. But the self-care thing was really important. I even took a run. I was running down at the beach. We've got a beautiful beach close to Mum's house. And it was just taking that time to just have a little bit of a breather, a break. And then when I came home, I could tell Mum what I had seen and done. So it's just really, really important to take that time for you. As I said in the beginning, I was kind of, that this was whole new territory. I didn't know what was going on, who was coming in, when people were coming in the beginning. It was all very chaotic, but I managed to kind of carve out some time for me, and it just felt like I was a bit more in charge, and that I was being kind of nourished too. And then of course that helps that I'm there for Mum, because, you know, we wanted to give her the best care possible. And then in the final moments with Mum, and it's funny because, you know, I was there for about 12 days. And in the beginning you're thinking, is it now that Mum is going to pass? And the last couple of days she wasn't really aware of what was going on. But, you know, just chat to her and give her all the chat, and the radio was going. And actually it happened when the hospice nurses came in to freshen her up. It was really nice the way that they said things to her. You know, it was very protected her dignity, and say, oh, you know, we've come in to freshen you up, and, you know, they would change her and everything. And whenever they arrived, I would go off and, you know, make a cup of tea. And then one of the hospice nurses, he came in, and I was expecting him to say, okay, that's us done for now, and we'll see you later tonight. And he said, oh, I think you'll want to come there's been a bit of change in Mum. And I could see immediately that Mum's colour was different. And I just sat with her, held her hand, called my brother. He came over and, you know, just said to her the things that we'd been saying to her every day, that she had been a great mum, that she'd been a great granny, she'd been a great wife, and we all loved her. Everything was settled. She could go off to Dad, knowing that, you know, we were all in good hands and how much we loved her. And I know it might sound a bit strange, but it was a really, those 12 days were really tough and challenging. But my brother and Mum and I, we had some really great moments together. You know, I wouldn't change it for anything. And Mum had a really peaceful last moment. So in the end, I think that's what more can you ask for? And then on the practical side of things, my brother, he's really, really good with all the details. And a couple of days beforehand, we had put together lists. He had made a list of all the people that we would need to be in contact with, not just the, you know, authorities, that side of things, but, you know, all Mum's friends, neighbours. He had made a list of telephone numbers, and he just swung into action, letting everybody know. I'm not very good with the sentimental stuff, so I was better doing the practical stuff in the house. And I'll tell you more about Mum and decluttering Mum's house, the death cleaning, and some of the fun things that we talked about, and some of the fun things that I kept from Mum, including the scarf, the Hermes scarf that I gave to her. But she had a really beautiful funeral. The place was packed. Mum knew so many people, had made an impact on so many people's lives, all different generations. And a lot of people have asked about the coffin that Mum had, the casket, and it was really beautiful. It was a woven basket with pink roses on it, and it was just really, really beautiful. Big hug to anybody who is dealing with this. And as I said, try and get as much information as you can. There are plenty of good websites and things out there. I hope today's video, I didn't want to be morbid, I hope you've had some uplifting moments from it, and I hope it's a comfort to those of you who are either going through this or maybe going through this at some point in the future. So anyway, let me know what you're thinking. Just even leave me a little emoji so I know that you're out there. And all I've got left to say is goodbye to Mum.